Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. Now we are dealing the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation. Today we will be discussing the significance of species richness. So we know that the species richness is actually needed for an ecosystem. The ecologists believe that the more the species diversity, the more stable the community is. So what do you mean by the stability of a community, or what are the characteristics of a stable community? So there are 3 points coming under this. First, a stable community or an ecosystem should not show too much variation in year-to-year productivity. The productivity per year should remain more or less constant. Second, they should be either resistant or resilient to occasional disturbances, either natural or man-made, because of the balance in the ecosystem due to species richness. Third, they should also be resistant to alien species invasion. Alien species means what? The species which are coming from other geographical area and coming to this new ecosystem. So in these 3 situations, they show more resistance. Okay. So we do not know how these 3 attributes are directly linked to the ecosystem stability. But still, there are a few experiments done by an ecologist called David Tillman. He did some experiments in ecological plots, and he concluded that the plots with a more species richness showed almost the same productivity from year to year, or there were less variations from in productivity from year to year. At the same time, he also found that whichever plots had more species richness, there the productivity also was very high. Now, in this context, we have to think about the loss of certain species from this ecosystem. Does it really matter if a few species disappear from a particular ecosystem? So, we cannot give a clear idea or a picture to this, but we have an analogy given by a scientist called Paul Ehrlich. He is an ecologist from Stanford University. He has given the analogy like this. Ecosystem is considered as an airplane. And in that airplane, different parts are connected using rivets. Rivets means the screw or the bolt for connecting different parts. You know, there are many passengers in the aircraft. So, aircraft is the ecosystem and the rivets are the species. So, imagine each passenger is popping up a rivet while going home. That means species is becoming extinct. So, initially it may not affect the functioning of the flight. But more and more rivets are disappearing, then definitely it will make the aircraft very weak and it will affect the proper functioning of that particular aircraft. That means ecosystem. The same way, second aspect, it's not only the number that matters, from which part the rivet has been removed is also very important. If the rivet is being removed from the seats or from the window side, it may not affect the flight much. At the same time, if the rivet has been taken from the wing, definitely it will dangerously affect the flying of that aircraft. So, here we are telling about 2 aspects. One, the more rivets are removed, that means more species are becoming extinct, definitely that will affect the functioning of that ecosystem. Second, some keystone species are being removed, that will also affect. What are keystone species? Keystone species are the species which are defining the entire ecosystem, or it is driving the functions of that particular ecosystem. For example, starfish is a keystone species, frog is a keystone species, kangaroo rats are also examples of keystone species. Due to various factors, the biological wealth of our planet is being lost. But the major cause is human activities or anthropogenic action. There is an organization called IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, or now known as WCU, World Conservation Union. This organization releases Red Data Book or Red List, which lists out the organisms which are under threat. The different taxa are described in this under 9 categories. The categories are extinct in the wild, endangered, critically endangered, less risk, no data available, vulnerable and not evaluated. According to Red List of 2004, 784 species became extinct in the past 500 years. It includes 338 vertebrates, 359 invertebrates and 87 plant species also. And when these climatic factors are changing, the most vulnerable to the threat or the extinction is amphibians. According to the red list, a few animals have become extinct. The recent extinction examples you have to remember, one is dodo of Mauritius. Dodo is a bird which is actually an endemic species of Mauritius. Endemic means a species which is found only in that geographical area and nowhere else on this planet. So their extinction is very alarming because we cannot find them anywhere else. So the bird became extinct. Another example is the quagga of Africa. Quagga is a subspecies of zebra which was present in also endemic species of South Africa. Then thylacine of Australia. It was a marsupial carnivore. Marsupial means what? Pouched mammal, right? Marsupial carnivore, and it became extinct. It is otherwise called a Tasmanian tiger. And another extinct species is a stellar sea cow of Russia. 3 subspecies of tigers. Bali from Bali of Indonesia, Javan from Java of Indonesia, and Caspian from Kazakhstan also became extinct. There has been a record of mass extinctions in the history of this planet since the life originated. 5 mass episodes of extinctions have happened already. The currently in progress is the 6th one. But this is entirely different from the previous episodes. First thing, in terms of speed or the rate at which the decline is happening. Now it is 100 to 1000 times faster than the previous one, because last 20 years witnessed the extinction of 27 species, and also 12% of birds, 23% of mammals, 32% of mammals and 31% of gymnosperms are under the threat. So the difference is one in speed. Second, the previous ones were not human activities or it was pre-human time, but now it is due to anthropogenic action or human action leading to this extinction. So this can be asked as a question, how is the 6th extinction different from the previous extinction? So you can write 2 points, one in terms of the rate at which it is happening, 100 to 1000 times faster. Second, this is due to human activities. Now what happens if there is a biodiversity loss? So we have to tell the opposite of the characteristics of the stable community. So if it is not having species richness, all those qualities will be reversed. What was the first point? It will have less year-to-year variation in the annual productivity. So now what will happen? It will affect the productivity of the plant species. And the species will be more vulnerable to environmental disturbances, natural or man-made disturbances. And also it will affect many of the ecosystem functions, mainly productivity, then water cycle, nutrient cycling, pest and disease cycle also. So here comes the discussion on what are the causes of biodiversity loss. So basically 4 different causes are told in this regard. One is habitat loss and fragmentation. Second, alien species invasion. Third, co-extinction. And fourth, when we discuss evil quadrant one by one, first is habitat loss and fragmentation. This is the most important cause or the primary cause of extinction of many animals on this planet, habitat loss. So the most dramatic example or the most serious example we have to tell is about the Amazon rainforest. It used to cover 14% of the landmass on this earth, but now it is only less than 6%, and thousands of hectares of this Amazon forest is being cleared on a daily basis. It is known as the lung of the planet because it is contributing to the oxygen cycle on a large scale. And for what reason are we clearing it? Very silly reasons. One for soybean cultivation, or for converting it into grassland, for cultivating fodder for the beef cattle, because beef is more popular in American continent. When we are cutting this off, actually we are disrupting the balance of our ecosystem. It's not only that habitat loss affecting the species richness or species existence, the quality or the degradation of this ecosystem is also affecting. What is causing degradation? Pollution. So that's another reason. Then fragmentation. If the entire habitat is fragmented, when are we fragmenting a habitat? For our developmental constructions, like maybe if you are building a road or dams or railway tracks and all, we may have to fragment the area. So in such situation, certain birds and mammals which are in the larger territories and also with the migratory habits will be affected more. So all these points are coming under habitat loss and fragmentation. Another important reason for biodiversity loss is over-exploitation. When our need turns into greed, it will exploit the animal species or plant species. We have enough resources for ourselves, but we are over-exploiting them. Here, quagga, dodo and all we learned as the extinct animals. Suppose you are asked to write 2 animals which became extinct due to over-exploitation. You have to write 2. One is passenger pigeon, which was actually over-harvested for its meat purpose and also due to that is hunting and habitat loss. Second is Steller sea cow, that was also over-harvested for its flesh. Now, third is alien species invasion. Alien species means what? A species which is brought from another area to a particular geographical area. It is unintentionally brought or deliberately brought. We have examples of that. Nile perch introduced into the Lake Victoria of East Africa caused a threat to the indigenous cichlid fish. As a result, 200 species of them became extinct. That was a deliberate introduction. The same way, for aquaculture purposes, now we are bringing African catfish Clarias garipinus. Actually, it is illegal, but that is also making our indigenous catfish or threatened. Now we have 3 plant species example. One is Lantana, Parthenium, Eichhornia. This Parthenium was accidentally brought unintentionally during the import of the wheat varieties. It came along with that. This is carrot grass. Whereas Eichhornia was brought purposefully because of its beauty, but it turned invasive later, and this is called a terror of Bengal. And lantana is a weed, but it is now used in an ornamental purpose also, but still these are all alien species but became highly invasive, posing a threat to the indigenous species. And the last reason is co-extinction. Means if a host is dying, the unique assemblage of all the parasites in its body will also die. For example, if a fish is dying, all the copepods and other parasites living in the body of the fish will also die. Or a pollinator species is becoming extinct, the plant also will not be able to reproduce because of the absence of this. So these are the evil quadrat which are the cause of biodiversity loss. Hope you understood the video. The rest of the lesson we will discuss in the coming videos. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel Biology My Passion. Thank you for watching.